Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, when it comes in a bottle form, it comes in a bottle kind of like this. And when it comes in cartridge form, it comes in a cartridge tin kind of like this. And when it comes in a sample form, it generally comes in a sample form like this. It's Herbin's Cacao du Brésil. Yes, I just murdered that, but yeah, I don't speak French. So I'm sure pretty much everyone has probably seen this. It's Herbin's little swatches of all their inks that they make. And I thought I'd just tout it out to give you a comparison of their Cacao du Brésil, Lit de Thé, Ombre de Birmanie, Café des Îles, and Tau du Faux. It's... I don't know how to describe it. It's sort of their dark brown, but obviously not. And it's gray, and it's weird. So let's check it out. All the tests were done in this Lamy Safari with a 1.1 stub. And because some problems cropped up, I also decided to just use this Lamy Extra Fine once or twice just to see if it would help things. So I thought I'd compare it to a couple other browns. Here I've got Toucan Umber, which is also sort of a dark brown, sort of a smoky brown. Diatramentis' black brown, which is worlds different. And then Cacao du Brésil, which just looks straight up gray compared to these two. So yeah. Here's the chromatography. Here's the standard chromatography, which, as you can see, pretty much everything migrated. There's sort of this slightly bluish slate gray down at the bottom. Camera. Jesus. And then there's sort of this chestnutty brown and then a weird blue up at the top. And then, just for fun lately, I've also been letting the ink dry into the chromatography paper, which is not how you're supposed to do this. This is merely me being bored and curious. But when you do that, more stays down at the bottom, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, as you can tell, still not a lot of water resistance. So let's check out the paper test. Top down in density, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. As you can see, there's a good degree of shading. However, that shading really comes from... it looks really thin and watery. As I say, undeniably fascinating color. I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's brown or if it's gray or something in between. But it is thin and it's watery. And so it took 13 seconds to dry. And I feel like, although there's a great degree of shading, I feel like it mostly just highlights the thin areas, so it's not very complementary. There's no bleed feather spread, there's really not much echo, there's no sheen. And really not a lot of water resistance. It's mostly gone. It's a little bit there. If you really, really had to recover it, you could. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where it took 12 seconds to dry. And again, you see a great degree of shading, but it's also so thin. I really don't feel like the shading complements the color or the richness or the performance. If anything, it sort of highlights its weakest points. I say if this were more hardy, if it were darker, I would really enjoy this ink, but mostly it seems kind of weak and thin and watery. Yeah, there's no bleed feather spread, no echo, no sheen. I said it's a decent pen, paper, and ink combo if you like the look of it. I don't really like the look of it, but yeah, not a great water test, but could have been a lot worse. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where it took 12 seconds to dry, and again, you see a decent degree of shading. Here you definitely get more of a halo effect, just because of the way this paper makes ink pool. And I said I thought it looked a bit darker on this paper just because of the way it can make ink pool. So it doesn't look quite as thin. But it does look a bit watery in places. But no bleed feather spread, no sheen. So there is a mild potential for echo because this is very thin paper, and where the ink goes on heavy, it can be a little dark. Not the worst water test we've seen, especially considering this is Tomoe River and it loves to let ink slide away when you add more water. But it's actually even darker on camera. It is really, really gone. So if you desperately had to recover something, you could. And next is 20-pound copier paper, where it took 5 seconds to dry, and it really didn't perform well. There was bleed and feathering and spread. I said there was no shading, but I put an asterisk there because obviously there is some shading left. It's not quite the same, but there's some. It's there. But because the performance was so bad, I decided to try it in an extra fine nib to see if it would do any better. And actually it didn't. There's still some bleed through. I mean, it did better, but not completely better. As you can see, there's just bleed through everywhere. There's a massive amount of echo, a lot of spread. If you compare the line width, it spread a lot. However, this is obviously the best water test we've seen so far. It did explode a little bit, it did feather a little bit, but it's dark. If you had to recover something, this would be the paper that would be easiest to recover it from. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, which for some darn reason has been outperforming this printer paper lately, and that's pathetic. But again, on here, 6 seconds to dry, there was bleed and feathering and spread. So there's not much shading remaining, but I don't know, maybe over time something happens, because yeah, there's shade in here. But yeah, I said I'm still not sure I can recommend the pen, paper, and ink combo because there's still bleed all over. I mean, there's extreme bleed right at the edges, but there's still bleed through all over. And so this line right here is where the extra fine was, and as you can see, there's still a little bit of bleed through coming through, even in the extra fine. So yeah, water test, could be worse. It did explode, it did feather a bit, but like I said, could be worse. And here's some of that Moleskine paper that is like winning the lottery because it behaves. But yeah, 10 seconds to dry, it shades, but again, it looks really thin and watery here. I mean, if you look through the writing, you can see the cross-hatching on this quadrilateral paper. But yeah, I said no bleed feather spread, it was still weak looking. There's still some shading. Water test isn't fantastic, but it could have been a heck of a lot worse. So yeah, there you go. That's Herbin's Cacao du Brésil. And I know it's not cocoa. It is cacao in French. Somebody had to explain that to me because I couldn't believe it was actually cacao. I'm 5. Anyways, for your consideration from the Triple N Network, this gray-brown thing going on. Some people totally love it. I'm not its biggest fan, but I'm not its mortal enemy, I'll put it that way. So for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.